Hey guys, welcome back to Classic City Talks with Classic City Locks. I'm Mike.
I'm Wes.
And here we are. We finally made it. Week 14, Conference Championship Week. So, we're going to run through those games with y'all. Wes is going to give us a quick recap. We couldn't get a video out last week because it was Thanksgiving, but we're excited to do this one, and then we're probably going to finish off with the bowl games.
Yeah, so we have 2 week updates then since we didn't record last week. So 2 weeks ago, back in week 12, it was a very interesting performance, actually. Mike went 10-13, and I went 13-10 to tie the score at 5-5 with one tie. And our records picking on the season were exactly tied at 104-106. Had I known that, I would have performed much better last week, where we both struggled. I think it's fair to say. Mike going 8-13 and me going 6-15. Actually, I'll check on that. I might have switched one of those. It might be one better. But anyways, we're sitting.
We had a couple good sleepers though. I was locked in on Oregon State, and they just won outright. So
Well, we're sitting at 6-5 now, and so I gotta beat him this week. It's going to come out perfect. We're going to tie this week, and then I'm going to beat you in the bowl game and complete the comeback.
No.
But yes, so it's actually statistically impossible for me to finish 500 on the regular season. Hopefully with the bowl games, that'll change. Mike has to get 9-1, and he will. Yeah, Mike has to go 9 out of 10 this week to get them all right. And we're picking some very iffy matchups that we're not familiar with.
Matchups that maybe we shouldn't even include. But we're gonna give it all. We hope to be a resource to all of you. So.
Exactly. So you want to start us off with the first game we got?
An exhilarating first game at 7:30 p.m. on December 2nd. We have the North Texas Mean Green going to take on the UTSA Roadrunners. The Roadrunners are number 23. This is the Conference USA Championship. These two teams did play earlier in the year. Just for reference, before I talk about that, UTSA is 10-2. So that's a solid spot to be in a championship game.
Yeah.
The Mean Green are 7-5. So not really sure what's going on there. I haven't really kept up with my news in the CUSA. But these teams did play each other earlier in the year. UTSA got the win 31-27. So that's not covering this line. At face value, 8.5 is just not very fun line for me. I think it's gone down to 7.5 on a lot of. I don't know how many books are doing this game, but I'm gonna ride with the Mean Green here. They're kind of all over the place, but it's a conference championship. You never know what can happen. And 8.5, I feel like the Roadrunners are gonna win, but the hook is gonna get you. So give me the Mean Green.
Yeah, that's interesting. You were talking about that. They've played earlier in the season, and the game was not separated by 8.5 points. It was let me see here. I got it pulled up. It was separated by.
They won by UTSA won by 4.
4, yes. So, and that was at UTSA. So before I saw that, I was leaning towards UTSA because I know they got a good football program. But 8.5, larger than a touchdown spread on a neutral environment and a championship game where anything could happen. I'm also going to take the Mean Green of North Texas.
Let's go.
Remembering that great upset victory they had in the NCAA March Madness tournament 2 years ago.
As fun as the Roadrunners sound, just the North Texas Mean Green. I'm rooting for them.
Yeah, me too. That game coming at you on Friday.
Yeah, that'll be the start. But it is going to be eclipsed by a much more interesting matchup. Which Wes will talk about.
Well, I went back and checked, and I actually was 7-14. I changed one of my picks before it came out, so I'm only one behind you on the season, which is huge, because it means that it is statistically possible for me to go 500 if I get all 10
every single
games
right.
correct.
All right.
So we'll see if I can pull it off. But this game is going to be tough to predict because it's Utah, number 12, fighting off against USC Trojans, number 4. Fighting for a playoff spot, the Trojans are, and they are favored by 3.5 against a team that beat them earlier in the season.
They're one loss,
and it was by 1 point, I believe. So I'm predicting another very close game. Caleb Williams, your Heisman probably winner, front runner right now. I think he's going to ball out again, but I think Utah kind of stifled him a little bit more than other teams did. So I'm predicting another really close game here. And the game with playoff implications where I don't think the playoff is going to be, nice and peachy and it's just going to be the 4 teams from this week make it. I think something's going to happen to change that. Even if USC wins, which I could see them doing, by 4 is... I don't know. I feel safer taking Utah, so I'm going to go with the Utes in this one to cover. It's USC favored by 3.5.
I'm disagreeing here. I think that USC is in a really good spot here. They had a heartbreaking loss against Utah, but there's a couple things that I think have changed since then. First of all, that team continues to work well together. Caleb Williams is playing very good football. Wes already said it. He's going to win the Heisman.
Yeah.
And things are clicking. On the other side of the ball, things have changed for Utah since that last game. Their star running back is out since that game, and they have a bunch of other injuries as well that they're dealing with. They've just been banged up the past couple weeks. I think that it's a conference championship game. Obviously, it's going to be close and stuff, but I think USC is riding the momentum. We saw just anecdotally how emotional Caleb Williams was after that loss. He definitely did not forget it.
No.
And I think that this is a good spot for him personally as a player and as a team. I think that they could win by a touchdown to 2 touchdowns. So I'm going to ride that momentum. They want to get into the playoffs. And they're going to avenge the loss. So give me the Trojans.
Well, I'm going to amend my statement because Utah did not stifle Caleb Williams in the first game. He threw for 5 touchdowns.
Oh, my God.
But on the other hand, you talked about the star running back for Utah. Cameron Rising was actually the leading rusher in this game back, I don't know when they played it. He had 3 rushing touchdowns and 2 through the air. He threw for 415.
Yeah, it was a duel.
Yeah. And I also think that something that might come into play here is that, like I said, they didn't stifle Williams the first time, but Utah, I think, has one of the statistically best defenses in the Pac-12.
Their defense is very good.
And it's very hard for the Utah to beat the same team twice, for any team to beat the same team twice. So I think I'm going to change. I'm staying with Utah, but I'm changing my prediction I think USC wins this one by 3, not 4.
I was going to say, at 2.5, I wouldn't even have I'd have a question, but I'd feel more comfortable. But I think this is definitely the best matchup.
Yeah.
I went back and forth on it, but I'm going to stick with the momentum. That's really what pushed it for me.
Mm-hmm.
Up next, another good matchup. Kansas State, number 13, going to play TCU, number 3. TCU favored by 2.5 here, so more of the same. TCU 12-0, they did it.
Yeah.
But odds makers continue to be cautious with them. It's all they always make it interesting. We'll say that.
Yeah.
I just, again, similar to last thing, I think that TCU has proven us that they can win. I think that if this line was 3.5, I'd be a little bit more concerned. But at a neutral site, TCU beat Kansas State before. They keep winning. Kansas State has a good record, but what do they have? 2 losses.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really think that they are better than TCU objectively, and I don't think that 2.5 is enough points for me to take them as an underdog. I don't really think there's enough value in that. So I'm going to stick with the Horned Frogs to stay perfect here and get into the playoffs at number 3.
They have 3 losses. I misspoke.
They have 3. Yeah, I don't think that's enough points for them, even with it being a conference championship matchup. I don't think that's enough to doubt this TCU machine.
Yeah, and the same kind of conversation comes back from the last game. TCU playing Kansas State already, beat them by 10 at home in the regular season. And it's hard to beat the same team twice, but I'm with you. I think TCU is scrappy. They get disrespected by Vegas every week, and they find a way to win.
Exactly.
And 3 is a perfect spread for me to take TCU or 2.5, because all TCU has to win by is a field goal. This game goes to overtime, and TCU kicks a field goal. That's it. That's wraps. Yeah. And I think TCU could easily win this by more than 3. So.
They proved to us that last week, if anything, was just reinforced it for me. They killed Iowa State.
Yeah.
Which, granted, is not the best team, but teams from Iowa always have good defenses, and it just wasn't a problem for them.
No. And I will say, we're reading the AP standings, Kansas State at 13, but in the playoffs, they're actually number 10.
10, yeah.
So an interesting conversation could be had if Kansas State were to just somehow whoop TCU, how high up the rankings would they go?
Or
I don't think they make the playoff, but I think that you could see them in that 5 spot potentially.
The question is, if Kansas State massacres TCU, are they out?
Oh, TCU?
Yeah.
I think if Kansas State wins by 40, I think you won't be seeing TCU in the playoff.
Oh, that's not happening.
I don't think it'll happen either.
All.
So, just kind of media speculation that they love to talk about. It gives them something to fill your brains with.
At the end of the day, I would put money on Michigan, Georgia, and TCU getting in.
Yeah, unsure about USC.
Yeah, USC is definitely questionable.
So we'll move on to the MAC championship.
Some action.
Because I know you guys were waiting for us to talk about Toledo versus Ohio. And Toledo is favored by 1.5 in this game. So it's basically just who's going to win the game.
Yeah.
I mean, if Toledo wins by 1 point, that's just going to be such a bad hook. But I've seen a lot of talk about Ohio. A lot of people taking Ohio when they were 3.5 point dogs. So this line opened up at 3.5, I believe, and it's driven all the way down to 1.5.
Mm-hmm.
I opened at 4.5 actually, and I'm gonna go against the public on this one.
You're going with Toledo.
I'm going with Toledo. We're not experts on this game. All the things I've seen have been to take Ohio plus 3.5, but we don't have them plus 3.5. So, I mean, Vegas had to see something statistically to open that line at 4.5 and still offer it at 3.5 for most of the week. I'm gonna ride with Toledo in this one. I think it'll be a sleeper pick, but it could be the one that sends me to 10 picks correct.
Some action. We love action.
They're the Rockets. How could you not vote for the Rockets?
I'm going against you here, Wes. I don't even think that this is a question. I think that Ohio is going to win this game. Toledo, up and down season for them. Ohio hasn't lost since October 1st. Their quarterback, he's got 25 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, 3,256 yards, 73.6 QBR.
Yeah.
I mean, they're rolling. I don't really know why they're getting 1.5 points here. So, give me the Bobcats.
Toledo is 0-5 against the spread in their last 5 games, and the Bobcats are 8-0 in their last 8.
Give me the Bobcats
until
here.
This weekend.
Oh my gosh.
Give me Toledo.
The Toledo
Rockets. We'll see. Then we move on to another exciting championship game, the Sun Belt.
Okay, so yes, Sun Belt Championship. Coastal Carolina going against Troy. How did Troy get there?
I can't even tell you. I love college football, man, but I have not watched a Troy game this season.
So Coastal is favored by Troy. Troy is favored by 10.5 here against Coastal.
Mm-hmm. We just saw Coastal play James Madison
and get
absolutely throttled.
The problem with Coastal, I think, is their quarterback is out. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I think so.
And the reason I took Coastal last week, if you looked on Twitter, you saw that I rode with them, because I just thought that was too many points. We didn't really know how they would fare.
Exactly.
I mean, I think we both took them.
Yeah, we did.
I didn't really know how they would fare without him, but clearly it did not go in their favor.
No.
I'm going to check tentatively, just looking at this based on their last week performance.
Yeah.
Clearly did not go well. I'll take Troy. Funny enough, they're playing it in Troy.
Huh.
So I'll take them. I'm going to switch it here. I had Coastal, but I'm just having PTSD of how horribly they got killed by James Madison. So I'll take Troy to cover here.
Well, crazily enough, I don't understand how Coastal is in this game because James Madison. Oh, their conference record is the same, and they must have beaten them.
I think that they beat them, yeah.
But James Madison just beat Coastal, so why is James Madison not in the championship? But anyways,
Sun Belt moment.
We'll go on. Troy has 3 wins by this spread this season, coming against L.A. Monroe, Arkansas State, and Alabama A&M. All their other games.
Army. They beat
Troy
Army
did?
by 1.
What I see in this game is that Troy is not exactly a high-powered offense. They've got a lot of close scores, and I don't think that they pull away by 11. I'm just a little bit of Coastal bias just because their name appears a lot more in college football rankings than Troy does. But I'm gonna go against you here and take Coastal to get 10.5 points against Troy.
That's a big line, and I mean, I think a lot of this comes down to their quarterback. They're saying his status is unclear right now, but like, if he plays, I will say this right now, I will switch my pick. If it comes out that Coastal's quarterback is playing,
interesting,
I would switch it. But right now, I think that they don't. Their offense is confused. So
that's fair.
All right.
Well, we'll move on to
some real football.
The SEC championship. We got LSU, number 11 in the AP, going to take on the number 1 Georgia Bulldogs. And I can say they're going to take them on because it's in Atlanta. So it'll be basically home field for Georgia Bulldogs. They played there already this season. Georgia is favored by 17.5 on our line here. And I think, I could be wrong, but I think this is actually, it's moved to 18. You can even get LSU plus 18.5. But regardless of that,
I'm torn on
I'm still going to take LSU in this one. Georgia has been such an enigma for spread picking this year. I mean, I think I've done it once correct the entire season.
No, you got it twice. You got another week.
Okay, maybe twice. So this is going to be the game that it comes down to for my correct 10 picks. I don't think that I'll pick it correct either way. So whichever way I pick, you should go against. But
I don't know.
I think it's a championship game. LSU should be able to keep it within 17. I mean, I don't think Georgia wins by 3 touchdowns, especially because like recently I feel like they've been playing a little lackluster ever since they beat Tennessee. You know, they go to Mississippi State and the score line is like, it's a good score line, but like that game just did not feel like Georgia had it under control the whole time.
Not the first half.
And then same thing with Georgia Tech. I mean, you end up throttling them, but like you're letting them hang around in the first half, and like you can't even. Like the offensive line versus their defensive line, we were just not moving them. Like
it was not. It was bad.
So, and LSU's defense is way better than Georgia Tech's. They have that one linebacker who's playing phenomenal this year, and I've heard a lot of talk that Jaden Daniels is beat up, and they're worried about how much his legs are going to be a factor. But I don't think that you should look at this LSU team and judge them based off of last week's performance.
It's hard not to.
I don't think that they're like, gonna beat Georgia. It's possible, but I don't see it. But I'm gonna just stick with in my opinion, the safe pick here and take LSU plus 17.5.
I'm very torn on this one. I've flipped back and forth. In that I think there are 2 ways this game goes. Number 1, Georgia starts strong and finishes strong.
Yeah.
And they cover, and I think we'll know early.
Yeah.
The second one I think is similar to how Georgia Tech went, where LSU gets out to a quick start,
some momentum,
catches Georgia sleeping a little bit at the beginning, and then Georgia has to fight their way back, and then they put it away in the second half. The problem with Georgia in terms of the spread here is 1, conference championship, and the biggest thing for me is we've seen it. And I'm seeing it more. We saw it with Kentucky. We saw it with Georgia Tech. Kind of saw it near the end of Mississippi State.
Missouri.
When Georgia gets ahead and they've had a tough game in the start, that there's no desire to run up the score.
No. They will run out the clock.
Against Kentucky, Kirby was completely content to just absolutely eat up the clock. Did not care that we only won by 10.
Yeah.
Similar with Georgia Tech at the end. I mean, they could have put up another touchdown, but they put in the backups. So
that's the other thing here. They could easily get a backdoor cover. Georgia doesn't need to prove anything besides winning.
They're in the playoffs.
So
regardless.
So if they go up by 21, and then like you said, you get late into the fourth quarter, put the backups in, I could easily see LSU get another field goal at least. Brian Kelly's going to want to perform as best as possible because he's had a great season this year. But he's trying to recruit at a high level in the SEC, and I think that a solid performance. People, even if they watch the game and they're like, "Wow, Georgia dominated that," but they look and LSU only lost by 14. That's a great selling point for him in my mind.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that I'm gonna stick with LSU here. I think Georgia will win by 14. That's what I'm gonna say. But I think we're gonna see the same thing. Gonna get the win. but it's pace of play is gonna slow down at the end.
Yeah.
Gonna grind it out. So
I'll go Georgia by 17. I think
it's gonna be
17 and a half.
17 and a half is tough because you can't just win by 2 touchdowns and a field goal. You need that extra oomph.
Yeah.
So, and another thing that really worries me is turnovers.
Right.
Georgia turns the ball over a lot.
Yeah.
So I could see a sloppy mistake late in the game where I don't think they're going to lose this game. I think that Georgia will win this, and I think that they'll control it for most of the game, but I think that it's what we said, beating a dead horse at this point.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so.
And we'll briefly talk about the Mountain West Championship here as our next game for you. Fresno State going to take on Boise State. And Boise State is favored by 3.5. And it's in Boise, Idaho. And I assume that Albertson Stadium is Boise State Stadium with that horrid blue field.
Disgusting blue field.
But in this game, another one that I'm kind of torn on, but I think I'm going to go with Boise State because they're the better running team from what I'm seeing here. Mm-hmm. And 3.5 is a close line. Fresno's graced our picks a couple times this year.
Yeah.
And I don't think that I think they've disappointed me. So, and, the blue field, they playing there. It's kind of cool.
You say that it's you joke about the blue field and stuff, but they play on it all the time.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll confuse people. You never know.
I'll go with Boise State.
I'm also going with Boise State here just because Fresno State has momentum and stuff right now. They've won 8 games in a row, but Boise State, I'm pretty sure, did they play them earlier this season?
I don't know, honestly.
Yeah, I think they played them earlier in the season. I'm going to check on that in a minute. And I think they handled business. Fresno State's 6-15 in their last 21 games against the spread. On the flip side, Boise State is 6-1-1. They're 4-1 against the spread in their last 5 home games. So I think that everything really points to them winning, and I think the line should probably be a little higher.
Yeah.
I know that it's probably lower because Fresno State has some momentum going into this, but I'm going to take them, Boise State, to get it done at home here.
They did play earlier in the season, Boise State by 40-20.
Yeah.
And it was at Boise State.
I think that this line could even be higher at 7.5 or something.
Yeah.
It's a momentum thing, that's why.
I looked up, why is Boise State allowed to have a blue field, came up. And it basically just says that they have a federal trademark registration for the color blue as their artificial turf. But their jerseys, they're not allowed to wear blue jerseys at home, which makes a lot of sense.
That makes sense.
But I'm sticking with the Broncos in that one.
Up next, a very fun matchup, I think. Mm-hmm. UCF and Tulane. The AAC championship. Tulane favored by 3.5 here, despite losing to UCF earlier in this season.
Yeah.
I think this is a great matchup. We like what UCF is doing with Gus Malzahn's in a good spot there. It's fun. Stat-wise, though, I think that these teams are extremely similar, almost identical on paper. And because of that, I know it's tough. We say it's tough to beat the same team twice, and I'm not saying they will, but with that 3.5-point hook, I'm going to take UCF here. I think that maybe Tulane wins here with a field goal or something, but I could see UCF winning outright, and I don't see why, not take them with the points.
Yeah, I mean, I want to be entertaining here, but I can't. I'm going to have to agree with you. And it's like you said, I mean, you can't judge the game completely based off of how they squared off the first time, partially because this game is at Tulane, so they got the home field advantage. Mm-hmm. So with a 3.5-point spread, they're basically telling you that it's an even matchup.
Yeah.
If it had been in a neutral site, it would probably be just pick the winner. And I ranked the UCF in my rankings at the beginning of the season, and I predicted them to win the AAC. So they've got to help me out here and win it. Or just keep it within 3.
Yeah.
But, I'll take Gus Malzahn and the UCF Knights these days.
Speaking of that Wes talking about his ranking, I want an apology on camera for the fact that I was made fun of.
You're not getting it.
For ranking USC so high at the beginning of the year.
You're not getting it.
And here we are, knocking on the door of the playoff at number 4.
And
I just feel a little vindicated.
And I will not be issuing that apology because USC is going to lose on Friday and then not get in the playoff and not end up number 4.
They're not losing.
So
the momentum is there. The Heisman campaign.
I will admit that
all to lose to Georgia in the first round.
I will admit that I guess I underestimated them, but I mean, I don't like them.
All
I will
right,
say that.
fine,
I try to be
that's
as
fine.
neutral as possible on this show, but I just do not like the university,
That's
in
fine.
my opinion. But I will not let that sway my football picks. In that I
Well, it
just
clearly did.
I just didn't think that they had it in them. I mean, Lincoln Riley in his first year, kind of building a mesh team. Like, he basically was building with half transfers and half people, like guys that he didn't know anything about. Well,
all right, moving on. Who do we got next?
we'll go to the ACC championship. Clemson, number 10, versus North Carolina, number 24 in the AP. Clemson favored by 7.5 in our picks. And man, this is probably the game that even though I've been picking these games,
I hate it so much. It's so bad.
These two teams are just so strange to me in the way they play. It's always like, when I pick Clemson, I'm like, they're definitely going to cover this, and then they don't. And when I pick North Carolina, I'm like, they're definitely going to cover this, and then they don't. And 7.5 is such a weird line. Clemson on paper should easily be the better team, but UNC I could also see winning the game, I guess.
I don't know.
I think Clemson will have the better team. It's going to depend on which team is more motivated to play.
That's what I'm worried about for both of these teams.
Neither of these teams is like. For Clemson is disappointed because they always expect to at least make the playoff.
and
UNC was like, could have been in contention for a spot, and then they just blow it against like inferior teams.
They lost to Georgia Tech and NC State back to back.
Yeah,
that's
like,
unacceptable.
At the end of the season, after they had played so well.
We were talking about the Drake May Heisman campaign.
Yeah.
Potentially.
Oh, so I don't have any confidence in this pick, but I'm just going to go with Clemson.
No, I am too, bro.
Because they're just... I'm ready to be disappointed again, as I always am. So, give me the Tigers.
I'm going with them as well, just because, I know the loss against South Carolina is disappointing. But think about this. They lost by 1 props to South Carolina. Amazing game.
Yeah.
Great work. But on the flip side, think about it. We're looking at a 10-1 Clemson that eked out a win 31-30 over South Carolina.
Yeah.
South Carolina. In that world, we'd be like, oh, they're in contention and stuff. There's still only 2 losses. They're 8-0 in conference play. They lost to Notre Dame and South Carolina. They haven't lost in a conference matchup. And just looking at it on paper, points per game, Clemson 34, UNC 37. Okay, pretty comparable. Points allowed, Clemson 20, UNC 30. Yards allowed, UNC is allowing 442 yards per game, Clemson 326. So I'm going to lean on Clemson here. They've been here before. They've won the ACC. They're no stranger to this game.
Right.
And I think that if you're looking at a team that's more demoralized, I might argue UNC. The
Really?
Heisman campaign is over. You just lost back-to-back games that you should have won.
Yeah. They could have been looking at ACC champions in a New Year's Six bowl, which
they could have gone into this game 10-1.
Yeah.
Or 11-1. So yeah, I'm going to take the Tigers here. I think they're more experienced, and they kind of flip-flop, but I think that the experience is going to matter here.
Yeah, I agree.
Up next, another fun matchup. We have the unranked Purdue Boilermakers playing number 2 Michigan Wolverines.
Fix your conferences, Big Ten.
Yeah, honestly.
Fix your divisions, come on.
Michigan is favored by 16.5 here. Purdue, I don't know how they got here. That whole conference was just a good dumpster fire.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Michigan has shown us they are good. They really held Ohio State's feet to the fire last week on the road in one of the hardest environments. And they were down at half, but once they got the lead, they were determined to win that game and win it bigly.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take Michigan here. I've seen some rumblings about potentially, Purdue could contend and stuff. But when I look at the games that Purdue has played, yes, they played Illinois, who has fallen out of the rankings. A lot of the games, this is not as impressing me retrospectively. And I think that Michigan just they're clicking. J.J. McCarthy is a good quarterback. Blake Corum, they didn't even really need him last week.
Yeah.
And they really didn't look back against Ohio State. So I don't see why they can't do that against a Purdue team that is just... I feel like they're just short of wandering into the stadium like, I guess we made the conference championship.
Yeah.
Michigan is this is a scary team. They're better than last year.
That especially if not Edwards, especially if Corum is healthy.
Yeah.
That 1-2 punch with Donovan Edwards and Blake Corum is scary. They
can move the ball through the air.
Yeah, exactly.
So
I'm also going to go with Michigan in this one to cover 16.5.
Apologies for we've agreed a lot this week.
But I will say, for my idea of fixing the Big Ten, it's about to shake up with the addition of some teams anyways. But, I mean, even if you do away with divisions, and you just say, okay, Ohio State and Michigan just played, so you wouldn't want it to be them again.
Yeah.
But I would much rather be watching Michigan versus Penn State than Michigan versus Purdue.
Yeah.
And Penn State pretty much deserves it. I mean, I think
Penn State's a good team.
They have
2 losses.
Yeah, exactly. To Ohio State and Michigan. And besides that, they've just been handling people.
Think about this. If it were Penn State versus Purdue right now, and the line was 16.5, you would consider taking Penn State.
Oh, I would take Penn State, yeah.
And that's obscene to me. That it's very disappointing.
Yeah.
I mean, just that whole division is just a mess.
I agree with you there.
I would say, talking about Penn State, if there's a team that I feel for right now, my heart goes out to Penn State because they've had a great year.
Yeah.
It's unlucky that they have to go through Michigan and Ohio State in the regular season. That's just disappointing.
It is. I mean, what can you say? But we're not in charge of the conferences yet. But unfortunately, that's our last game for you because there are only 10 to pick. We're hoping to be back for get one more video in for bowl games, but stay tuned for announcements on that. We'll let you know if we can, but let us know in the comments are you a Coastal Carolina fan? Did we upset you in some way?
Are you a Purdue fan that thinks that they could win it?
The Boilermakers coming to get us.
Just Purdue Boilermakers win the Big Ten.
That would be so just
and then
comical.
Michigan goes to the playoffs.
Yeah, they're still gonna go regardless of if they lose.
Insane. It's a fun. It's not great, but we got some fun games in here.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to it.
I'm excited to watch some.
So thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Again, comment below if you think we're totally off base. If you think that Fresno State is gonna mop the floor with Boise State. If Tulane is just going to pop off, whatever.
And if this is the last video, we want to thank everyone for watching this season.
Yeah.
We've had fun with it. Like I said, hopefully we get another one in for you. But if not, thank you. We've had a great time. We hope you've been entertained. So.
Yeah. And I would just say stay tuned for future stuff. I will not be in the same location as Wes next spring. But I know. But we're gonna work to get something out, to get content out to you guys. So stay tuned for some fun stuff in the future. And thanks for watching.